Kevin's like coffee. You know, he's high on octane.
Looking inside, Robinson. Oh, Garnett!
He's an energy guy. I mean, he's the 7-foot Red Bull.
Kevin Garnett has height and hops and wingspan, plus energy and exuberance. His dunks are destructive works of art.
Lobbing, Garnett, the jam! Oh, Kevin, have mercy!
His dunks are exciting because he puts flair to it. When he goes up, his goal is to try to tear the rim off.
I remember as a kid watching him. I mean, he kind of scare you out there when he dunk. He's out there talking to himself and beat pounding on his chest and everything.
He's not the strongest, most physical player, but no one's going to block his dunk. No one's going to get in his way because he's just going there with such, ferocity.
One of Garnett's most emotional dunks came during the Timberwolves' home opener of the 2000-2001 season when the jersey of former teammate Malik Sealy was retired. Sealy had died in a car accident the previous spring.
During the national anthem, I heard him saying, "This game's for you. This game's for you, Malik."
And I remember somebody took a shot and missed it. And Kevin grabbed this rebound in the air, like with one hand, and slammed it down. Looked up at Malik's banner, just kind of pointed his finger up to him, like, "That's for you." It's one of the most amazing dunks I ever saw in my life.
Yes.
Dwayne Wade amazes me. He's one of those guys that weaves in and out of traffic and just rises up on you.
He's go get it, dunker. Like, I'm in the building. I'm here. I ain't going nowhere. I'm gonna dunk it 100 times if you let me dunk it 100 times. If you don't let me dunk it, I'm gonna dunk it on you anyway.
Even though he's one of the little guys, he's a guy who attacks the basket and attacks it with vengeance. He has no fear of going to the basket.
His gracefulness and his ability to slam the basketball on par with anybody that's ever played.
Number 13.
Wham! Bam! Wham!
Larry Nance was a great dunker because although he was tall, 6'10", he moved like a guard. And he still had the fluidity to do things in the air, the dipsy-doos, that you don't see in big men.
Larry Nance was one of the top big dunkers, and I think he's the guy that really don't get the credit that he deserves.
Here he comes, there he goes! Whammo!
Spidery and explosive, Larry Nance first drew notice at Clemson, then with the Suns and the Cavs, for whom he rattled rims in a long and mostly unsung career.
Dunking is an art, and just like any great artist, you have it or you don't. And a guy like Larry Nance, he had it, especially when the alley-oops were thrown to him. He could just go and get it.
There's the lob to Nance. What a great dunk!
He was, 6'9", 6'10", and could jump? Oh, my gosh. And he was strong with it, and he had a little bit of style. I mean, what more can you ask for?
Number 12.
That's my guy, T-Mac. He's explosive, he's deceptive. You don't think he's going to get as high as he does, but he just keeps going higher and higher.
Throwing him lobs was very easy because you could throw it basically anywhere. He's going to catch it and dunk it.
Tracy Mcgrady went from high school to Toronto, where eventually he teamed with his cousin, Vince Carter.
Tracy didn't like dunking, but he can do it. It's amazing. He can take off a long way and just do some crazy stuff.
He's so smooth when he dunk, but it's like when you piss T-Mac off, then that's when the dunks is coming in where he's like waking up an angry giant. Like, man, you guys bother. All right, here we go. This is what you want to see?
T-Mac and then Orlando.
One of the most impressive dunks I ever saw happening in an All-Star game. Tracy Mcgrady, just in the flow of the game, threw it off the backboard with a dunk, and everyone's like, whoa.
I always wanted to be that guy. to be the first to do it and do it on a big stage. All the All-Stars around and you do something like that, that's a dunk to remember.
I saw him do it. First time he did, I think it was in a preseason game. And let me tell you, he did it against, when he was with the Magic. I was hurt. We did it in Orlando. He threw it off the backboard and dunked it. And I remember him looking at me and kind of like winking and like, yeah, you see that?
Número 11.
I got to play with Connie when I was growing up.
Stop the beat.
He was Elgin after Elgin and Julius before Julius.
I've seen Connie since high school. And this guy had hands like Julius Erving. He could grab that ball like it was a grapefruit. And he could make all kinds of moves.
As the ball is bouncing just a little bit above the foul line, he takes the ball in the air, elevates, goes down, and whams it. Be over and out of the gym. The place was empty. That was it. That's one of the greatest dunks I've ever seen of all time. The hook dunk.
Though innocent, Connie Hawkins' association with a point shaver cost him his college eligibility and led him to be barred from the NBA during most of his best years. Therefore, many of his most electrifying flights of fantasy exist only in memory.
You know, Doc, on TV, you saw him in the ABA, you saw him in the NBA. In those days, TV didn't cover the hook.
Connie Hawkins was one of the great soarers and swoopers of all time, who had that windmill dunk where he'd start about with a foul line and hold the ball up and throw it down and throw his arms around. Nobody'd ever seen anything like Connie Hawkins.
And that's what we call a real legendary player. And when you think that we never saw his best years, say.
When we return with the best dunkers ever on Who's Number One, see why we need the breakaway rim. Look out below. Welcome back to ESPN Classics Who's Number One and our ranking of the 20 most spectacular dunkers in NBA history. Look, no shortage of deserving dunkers, as evidenced by those who didn't make the list. How about the bread truck, Charles Barkley, who once moved basket, rim, backboard, and stanchion with a monster jam? Or Shaq and his seismic stuffs, and the man with the aerodynamic nickname Kenny Skywalker. Now let's get back to those who made the list.
10. Número 10.
Ooh, my masterpiece was Chocolate Thunder flying, Roseine crying, cats crying, glass flying, babies crying, cats still crying, babies flying, rump roasted, bun toast, and thinking where man I am jam. But I had the left-handed spine chiller supreme, the hard stopper, the rim wrecker, the cake shaker, the baby maker. Had them all.
As kids, you always try to go in the backyard and emulate Daryl Dawkins. You went to the 7 and 8 foot rims and tried to do the chocolate, vanilla, raspberry, banana float dunk.
There are a lot of guys who dunk, but they don't have a number of dunks. This guy had all kinds of dunks. And then he would tell guys what he was going to do to them, and he would eventually do it.
Outside of Shaquille O'Neal, I don't know if anybody who was as strong as this guy when he got the ball around the basket.
Broken backboards are nothing new in basketball. But they were a phenomenon in 1979 when Daryl Dawkins created a shower of glass twice.
Oh, he did it again!
Now, as Daryl Dawkins tore the baskets down, it forced the NBA to go and find the breakaway rims, or you better have a lot of additional backboards available because I'm tearing them down.
Daryl Dawkins is the poster child for being able to dunk the ball with authority. Dawkins dunked the ball that made you make a crazy face. You be like, damn.
He was a message dunker. Like, I'm going to show you this. I may not do it the rest of the game, but I'm just going to show you one to keep your memory intact.
I had to do something to let them know I was out there. So, Chocolate Thunder was in the house.
Kobe has it all. He's got the swagger. Oh, he has style.
Kobe's one of those guys that when he gets in the open court, when he's there alone, he's not afraid to take a chance.
Even in high school, Kobe Bryant's elevator went all the way to the top. In the pros, Bryant helped bring Showtime back to L.A.
You get a lot of dunkers who can only attack from the front of the rim. Kobe's best dunks are attacking from the baseline, going underneath the basket, coming up, attacking the rim in a different angle that is unique.
For him to be able to take one dribble and all of a sudden, boom, he's up and he's at the basket and dunking. He's fun to watch.
When he did that, I ran out my mom's house and ran up the street and yelled for like 15 minutes. And we had people watching, rewinding every time, and it was unbelievable.
He's just so instinctive, and he's pretty creative because when you're up there for 7, 8, 9 seconds, it seems like you can come up with something.
David was truly awesome. He was named Skywalker because it truly looked like he was walking on air at times.
One of the best things is to be able to get to the basket, beat your defender, and plus the fact that I had a 44-inch vertical leap, and I could maneuver around in the air.
Dunking was outlawed when David Thompson played at North Carolina State from 72 to 75. So the Wolfpack improvised a way to use his special talent.
The alley-oop itself, when David would do it successfully, was as beautiful a play as there was in college basketball because he'd have to catch the ball and drop it over the basket.
That whole deal about throwing lobs for dunks, that all started at North Carolina State with David Thompson. You never saw it in the pros before David Thompson started doing it at NC State.
He really is the guy who introduced the phrase vertical leap into the vocabulary of basketball. There's nobody who had quite that ability to just suddenly materialize above the rim and take an alley-oop pass.
In 1975, Thompson went to Denver of the ABA, and there, freed from the no-dunk shackles, he dazzled. A year later, Thompson and the Nuggets joined the NBA.
David Thompson could do things that even Julius Erving couldn't do. David Thompson was a wunderkind. David Thompson could leap out of the gym.
The Rain Man, the Glide, and a king. Meet them when Who's Number One returns with the best dunkers of all time.
Well, LeBron's just a beast. He really is.
LeBron dunks are so great because he does dunk contests, dunks in an actual game. And I think for a guy, his size, he's skies.
We always felt that when LeBron got in the open court, he was like a runaway freight train, and he was impossible to stop.
Even in high school, there was a flare in the air when LeBron James revved up his jets.
He's just a man-child. The basketball is just a little pea in his hand, and the rim is just a Nerf hoop.
Top for LeBron James.
He brings thunder and he brings excitement. When LeBron James gets out in the open court, you kind of feel it. You say, what is he going to do? What kind of a dunk is he going to dunk?
He's a player, to me, that has amazing, exciting dunks. Like the one he did on Damian Jones. Like, if I was Damian Jones, we couldn't be friends anymore. I mean, it's like, I'm not going to sign in Cleveland. Y'all can keep the money. I'd rather just go somewhere else. I can't be with this guy all of the time the way he has done me. So those are the kind of dunks that end friendships.
Number six.
Sean Kemp, he was kind of my era when he was young. You never think he was going to get to the rim from how far he took off, and the way he threw him down was amazing.
He kind of transcended the game with the way he ran the floor, the way he was sliced to the basket, the way he was fearless.
It rains in Seattle, you may have heard that. And for 8 flamboyant seasons, Sean Kemp, a.k.a. the Rain Man, poured thunder and lightning through the nets.
I like to get the crowd into it. and feed off the emotion.
His dunks were vicious dunks. You know, he's the type of dunks you get out of the way. Don't even try to block. You're not going to block.
The Lister blister, when he dunked to Alvin Lister and then pointed at him.
Going to the hoop. Wow! Now that is attacking the basket.
It's like he lost his balance on purpose, just so he can lean back and point at him.
At that time, we had this slogan going around Seattle, "Not in our house," and that was my statement.
I remember another time he dunked on Chris Gatlin, and after he dunked on him, Chris Gatlin had to give him his props. You're embarrassed, but you just got to give a guy his props. Like, you know what, you got it.
The later guy y'all saw, for you younger players, the guy y'all saw in a couple of those teams the last couple of years, that ain't the Rain Man. I'm talking about the guy I'm playing in Seattle. That's the Rain Man.
Clyde was a great dunker. He had a high vertical leap. He was a slasher type guy that could come in and glide and take off from pretty far.
Clyde Drexler, to me, he started the new era of highlight dunks. It started at Houston at the 5 Slammer Jammer bunch.
We were watching Houston play Memphis State, and Clyde Drexler jumped over Andre Turner and dunked. He jumped over a guy, and we all, and he started screaming and running around the room because he couldn't believe he just saw that.
Clyde could dunk like Michael Jordan, but it wasn't dynamic. It was Clyde, the glide, and it was smooth, and it fit in with him in reference to how he played the game. He looked like he could walk on air. He just floated to the basket, and it looked like he always would keep floating when he took off.
Clyde was famous for dribbling all the way down the floor, and despite the fact that his head was completely down, and then at the last second, he just would lift it up and soar to the air and dunk on you. And if you watched it on tape, you would swear the guy had no idea where he was on the court.
He's one of the greatest dunkers in history, and on any scale. He was just one of those guys that, you know, didn't make a lot of noise, but he just looked good doing what he did best.
We're down to our final four, and when we return with Who's Number One, we'll examine posterizing. Before we continue our countdown, a quick timeout to explore posterizing.
Adjust the volume, retire to a safe distance, and get down.
Posterize. Well, the definition is that if you standing there and a guy go over the top of you and you get thrown down on, that's what we call posterize.
And posterizing, that's the ultimate macho insult in basketball.
And they sell them in the stores, and you go get that poster and you see who's in that picture. Hopefully it ain't you. Cause man, everybody's gonna have that on their walls.
Many consider Vince Carter the poster boy for posterization.
He got one on Mutombo when he went up, went to the first level, then he ended on the 10th floor.
Vince Carter in the Olympics, jumping over Frederick Weiss. Now, if you remember, Frederick Weiss was drafted by the Knicks, and then he got dunked on in the Olympics, and he never got on the plane and came to play for the Knicks.
Vince, remember when he dunked on Alonzo? It's crazy.
Carter drop.
I was home that night just watching the game on TV, and I remember my son was sitting in my lap, and I jumped, and he fell onto the floor because I was so excited to see that dunk, because I just had never seen a better dunk in my entire life. I'll never forget it.
That's half man, half amazing. The stuff he does is not even real. You know, it's like it looks so effortless.
Vince Carter is probably the greatest dunker the NBA has ever seen.
Vince Carter, there you go.
When he attacks the basket, you know what's coming, and you know everybody just get out of the way.
Growing up, Carter became a student of the dunk, studying tapes of the top aerialists, incorporating their best flybys into his repertoire.
When a guy does a windmill, he'll cradle it a little bit with the, kind of a cradle windmill. For me, I figure it's a little harder if you do the full extension, arm fully extended, because you have to bring, it's more of a windmill, like the word.
The thing that makes him so unique is when he does that 360, for a right-hander, you're usually turning this way. He's turning the opposite way, which makes it much more difficult in my eyes.
We were in Indiana, and he got the ball on the baseline, and Cuz got it and went from one side of the basket, windmilled on the other side of the basket.
You just think there's no way he's going to be able to continue to go as high as he is and over somebody, and before you know it, he's at the rim slamming.
A wise man once said that he won the genetic lottery because he has a 60-inch vert, because he has freakishly long arms, because he has a ridiculous amount of body control and hang time. It's kind of like the perfect storm. Everything just came together, when it came to athleticism, and it was kind of thrown all into his body.
Three.
When Dominique first came on the scene, he took everything to the rack.
The power that he brought with his dunks, he brought the house down when he dunked.
No matter what it is, he's coming at you hard, 100 miles per hour, like a train going downhill with no brakes.
It's ferocious, and when you can hear it, you can feel it.
Dominique Wilkins brought champagne to dunking. He would spiral through the air like a corkscrew, pop one, and leave a trail of oohs and ahs.
If you consistently watch Atlanta Hawks games, there inevitably would be 2, 3, 4 moments when Dominique Wilkins would do something that would just make your eyes just leave your body. He had the explosive, boom, and I'm up. And then when he came down with great power, velocity. Dunking for me was really just a tool that I used for intimidation. It was just something I used to kind of put fear in people, to back them up.
He was always in a position to make you a poster child.
Some of the putbacks you've seen off of misses, just over 3 or 4 guys that were just standing there, had no idea what had happened to him.
He would dunk on entire teams, including his own teammates, if they were in the way on an offensive rebound.
Dominique had it all. They didn't call him a human highlight reel for nothing. Everything that guys do today, they flow out of me.
Number two.
Dr. J was the architect of the dunk. He set the standard, revolutionized it.
Dr. J was just unbelievable. Big bro, flying through the air. He's just unbelievable, dunking on everybody.
He's kind of like Houdini. He can do anything you want with the ball when he's dunking.
Dr. J is probably the biggest guy that really wowed me. Still, to me, is the top dunker in the history of this league.
When he was at UMass from 1968 to 71, the anti-dunking rule handicapped Julius Erving. But in the ABA, his elegance and grace blossomed.
For people who never saw Dr. J in the ABA, they have no idea. Now, that's some statement. They think they saw the real Doc in the NBA. In the ABA, Doc would turn your building against you.
It cost the 76ers $6 million to obtain Dr. J from the Nets in '76. That may be considered the best money they ever spent.
He had them big mitts, so he would pick the ball off the dribble and come down on you.
When Dr. J and I both went into the Hall of Fame together in 1993, every single one of his highlight videos were of him dunking on me. I was never so embarrassed in my entire life.
In 1983, he just cupped in Michael Cooper, who doesn't back down from anything,
all of a sudden was putting his hands over his head because Doc's just like a freight train when he's in that position.
We were just sitting there like, oh no. Cool. Dr. J would embarrass you. He would embarrass you. Players today, once they put the ball on the floor, they were going to the basket and their goal was to somehow dunk a basketball. Where did it start? It started with Julius Erving.
19 down, 1 left. That's 1 as in number 1. ESPN Classic selection for the best dunker ever to be celebrated when we return. Welcome back to Who's Number 1 and the 20 most spectacular dunkers in NBA history. Let's recap. Number 20, Steve Francis. Number 19, Baby Jordan, Harold Miner. Number 18, Amari Stoudemire. Number 17, Dr. Duncanstein, Darryl Griffin. Number 16, Isaiah Ryder. Number 15, Kevin Garnett. Number 14, Dwayne Wade. Number 13, Leafin Larry Nance. Number 12, Tracy McGrady. Number 11, the Hawk, Connie Hawkins. Number 10, Chocolate Thunder, Darryl Dawkins. Number 9, Kobe Bryant. Number 8, the Skywalker, David Thompson. Number 7, King James, LeBron James. Number 6, the Rain Man, Shawn Kemp. Number 5, Clyde, the Glide Drexler. Number 4, Vince Carter. Number 3, the human highlight film, Dominique Wilkins. Number 2, Dr. J, Julius Erving. Well, so far, the control tower has given takeoff clearance to 19 Walk on the Clouds aerialists. That means there's 1 left. The most spectacular dunker in NBA history. Probably already figured out who it is.
Number 1.
Michael Jordan took dunking to another level. Just for the simple fact is he gave us all the illusion that he could fly.
Michael is obviously one of the greatest leapers, that ever played in this game. And the power that he brings in his dunks, is just amazing.
His creativity, style, hang time, he had it all. My all-time favorite from Michael Jordan has to be when he did Rock the Cradle. Every kid in America, I think, tried to rock the cradle, but nobody could ever dunk it. We all just lay it out.
He had a drive. He had a God-given ability to be able to dunk, and he had a relentless ability to try to destroy his opponent by any means necessary.
I can remember standing on the basket one time when Michael was coming in from the side. We were running down there to try to close him off, and next thing I knew, he was going by me. And, his shorts were going right by my face, and he dunks over Parrish and me.
Jordan one time dunked the ball over Johnny Stockton, and the owner yelled at him, "Why don't you do that against someone your size?" And Jordan heard the remark.
Very next play down, he steals the ball, dunks on Mel Turpin, who's like 7 foot. Turns around the middle, he says, "He big enough for you?"
It wasn't for nothing that he was called Air Jordan. One of Michael Jordan's thunderclap dunks in New York is still held in awe.
Me and Charles Oakley had him trapped in the corner, and he did a half moon, like he was getting ready to go back out to spin, but he spent back baseline. Just an incredible dunk. I didn't say anything to Patrick after that.
There was, no dunk ever done that he wouldn't try. As in all things, Michael was in a class by himself or awfully close to it.
He's the ultimate jump high, jump low, creative, fly, sky. He just kind of did things the way he wanted to.
Michael brought a grace and an elegance to dunking that the world had never seen. And some of the top dunkers of today's game get a lot of their inspiration from those early days of MJ.
When he got the ball in his hand, you expected something great to happen. And you knew once he got in the air, there was nothing anybody can do. You just sit there and watch. Probably the most charismatic dunker in history.
And now, as is our custom, we turn to the second guessers to assess our rankings. ESPN.com's very own Scoop Jackson and ESPN the Magazine's Chris Broussard gravity-bound both. Fellas?
Let's get to the business. Straight to the list, dog.
Well, I have problems right from the top. And Michael Jordan, best player of all time, not the best dunker of all time. He's top 3, but there is no way Vince Carter is any lower than 1 on this list. Come on. The Frederick Weiss dunk alone, you hurdled a 7-footer.
Right.
Like you were in a track meet,
right,
you know?
Right.
Then he's posterized some of the best shot blockers in history. The Kimbe. The Kimbe don't do this to Vince.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
True.
He does this, all right? You know, I mean, Tim Duncan he's dunked on.
Yeah.
You know, Alonzo.
Yeah, the league pass dunk everybody's talking about.
That's one of the most ferocious dunks you'll
and
ever
dunked on Shaq. And the one thing you don't see too many people dunking on Shaq, and he got one off on Shaq. Yeah, he got one off on Shaq. Okay, I'm with you on that. All right, my biggest thing on here is that I think if, in the same vein of what you're saying, if Dominique is number 3, he could be no lower than number 2 in my list.
I'll give you that. I mean, Neek, you know, there's people think he beat Jordan in that dunk contest. I mean, I'm a Mike fan, so I go with Mike.
Right.
But in game situations, there's no question. The human highlight film, I mean, come on.
Yeah.
You know?
And power.
Yeah.
See, that's the thing. He dunked with power, and he did dunks that came out of nowhere, you know, that people weren't expecting. And he revolutionized the tip dunk.
Yeah.
In that people, you know, you can see Vincent, you know when he's going to dunk. You see Mike, you know when the setup's coming. But with Nick, it'd be a missed shot. He's not even in the play, and out of nowhere.
Yeah, Nick was just ridiculous. And the thing about Nick, and Sean Kemp, too, because I think of Sean Kemp as like a taller version of Nick.
Right.
The unorthodox body movement. You know, Nick was pigeon-toed, and just, it Kemp, too, if I'm not mistaken. You know, and just the movements, that makes for a nice-looking dunk. When you just kind of move strangely and all that, you know.
He got graceful when he got in the air.
Yeah.
But you can't put Sean Kemp on this list without having Gary Payton on there as a sidebar. He's robbing because he set my man up. I mean, they took the alley-oop to him. Gary wouldn't even look.
Yeah.
You know, Gary be at half court, and at the time, we had never seen anything like this. You know, half him being on this list this high.
Alley-oops.
Yo, Gary made him look beautiful.
Well, you mentioned high on the list. I think Clyde has to drop. You know, I know he was Fly Slammer Jammer and all that, but number 5, come on. Clyde, it's because of the lack of variety. I mean, he soared, he glided in, you know, the one-handed dunk.
He did his thing.
But, you know, that was pretty much it for the most part, you know, and...
You sure one of those kangaroo shoes you were looking at that kind of like dropped it down off the list?
That didn't help, that's for sure. But, you know, he's in the top 20, but he's not number 5. And I'm looking at the list number 7, my man, LeBron James. LeBron is going to end up being one of the top 2 players of all time on this list. But dunkers, not number 7? Number 7? I wouldn't have a problem if LeBron wasn't on the list. Now, I'll give him maybe 19, 20, but if he's not on the list, I wouldn't have a problem. When I look at the fact that Jason Richardson's not on the list, Charles Barkley, 6'4", amongst the trees.
Yes,
you know what I mean?
And
going up over, and had the little heft to him.
Yeah.
That made it look better. You know, chunky guy like that going up over people.
Okay.
You know, so LeBron, I mean, maybe in 5 years, you know, we'll look back at some of his dunks, but at this point, he gets up high and he's got the power. But over Kobe.
Yeah, man, Kobe's so nasty. You know, Kobe's like Kobe at 9 now. He needs to be top. I got David Thompson in the top 5. Kobe's probably right up under there.
Right under.
Right under there. Kobe, I mean, just on that dunk alone that people forgot he did in the preseason at UNLV at the Thomas and Mack Center when he came down the lane where the other team left the bench. Losing. Come on, Kobe's done some ridiculous.
I mean, Kobe, let's be honest, his game and his dunks look a lot like Michael's.
Yeah.
So you can't have Michael number 1 and Kobe number 9.
That's true.
Come on.
Ask you a question. Who shouldn't be on here?
Well, I'm questioning LeBron, but Larry Nance, no way. Now, if you taking dunk contests, that stuff was nice when he beat Dr. J. And old Dr. J, by the way.
Right.
But Larry Nance, game dunks, no, he's not on here. And my man Harold Miner,
Harold might have made the list if he had played more, you know, but he only played.
Did he have enough dunks? He didn't get no minutes. Right. You got to have at least 25 dunks.
He probably only had about 4 game dunks, you know. I mean, come on, you know. And Isaiah Ryder, you could question too.
Let's get back to the top 5. Give me your top 5 in order. Top 5 in order.
All right, Vince, number 1. Dominique, number 2. Air Jordan, number 3. Dr. J, number 4. Because we miss out. Doc gets punished because of his ABA days. We don't get to see that as much. And then number 5, I'm iffy, but I'm probably going with Sean Kemp.
All right.
And Kobe a close.
I'm going to give you Vince, but Nick is so close, he might as well be 1 and 1B. All right? Then I'm going to give you Michael Jordan. Then I'm going to give you Dr. J. And no disrespect to Sean Kemp, David Thompson.
It's hard to argue that.
Got to do that.
Skywalker.
Yeah, got to do his thing. All right. Thanks. Back to you, Trey.
Thanks, guys. Now let's look at how you, the fans, voted on our ESPN.com Sports Nation poll. Who did you think is the greatest dunker of all time? Number 5, Sean Kemp. Number 4, Vince Carter. Number 3, Julius Erving. Number 2, Dominique Wilkins. Number 1, Michael Jordan.
So that's it for this edition of ESPN Classics Who's Number 1. I'm Trey Wingo, and thanks for joining us for our ranking of the 20 most spectacular dunkers in NBA history. We'll be back to continue our countdown of the teams, the athletes, and the events that have shaped our world of sports. Until then, let the debating begin.